Guru. Just giving you a quick shout to follow up on service, make sure that everything went well, that the crazy or weird popped up. If by chance anything did and or you have any questions or concerns, just give us a holler. Sure.
Now, I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I see these people protesting, they have so much free time, they can protest cheering algae growth at the Lincoln Memorial. I always think, what is the likelihood these people actually have a job? And according to AI, that likelihood is very low. Probably 20% at most, and that's being generous, that these people don't have a job and that they're actually relying on government assistance. In fact, the only reason why it's not lower than 20% is because some of them could have remote jobs or be trust funds that are already relying on their parents. So the likelihood that these people can actually work is like 5 to 20%.
U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro, as new arrests are announced tied to alleged vandalism in a collecting pool. And it comes as crews continue to clean up algae and poured in the pool following a multi-million-dollar renovation project championed by President Donald Trump.
Jess Arnold joins us now live this morning from the National Mall with details here. And Jess, this administration is now cracking down on people simply touching a reflecting pool.
Yeah, it seems that way. Our team had heard from one former Olympian who ended up being arrested after he said he had just recently heard. We've seen many people doing that over the last few days as this paint has begun peeling and rising to the surface here. We've also seen algae blooming, of course. Now, U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro says that her office will prosecute cases of what they're calling vandalism to the fullest extent possible.
Make no mistake, making D.C. beautiful is a priority. If you damage, vandalize, and do anything to impact something like the reflecting pool, you can be prosecuted.
President Trump simply wants to make D.C. beautiful, safe, and fun. Should be controversial, should be political, but apparently nowadays, 2026, everything's political. These people hate Trump more than they love America. They hate Trump more than they love America. In fact, they actually don't love America, right?
Again, 56% overall, having extremely, very much proud of the country. It's 29% on Democrats, 90% on Republicans. Look at that staggering gap between the parties. Look at it, only in the middle of that side, 36%. On the lowest end, massive partisan divide on that question.
Yeah, so they hate Trump more than they love America. They've decided that they're going to ruin President Trump's efforts to beautify D.C., to make D.C. safe, to make D.C. livable, to make D.C. a fun place to be. They're like, you know what? We're going to ruin all that, okay? And they've been doing that by vandalizing the Capitol. Like, for example, you see this huge 8647 thing that was created in the grass of the National Mall. Yeah. That's what these individuals are doing, right? That is what these Trump deranged lunatics are doing. Right? These liberals creating crop circles of 8647, which is a threat, right? They're basically threatening to kill the president at the National Mall. Okay? These are the type of lunatics that will do that. Yeah, the mainstream will be good. The president is now issuing national recognition for obviously vandalizing the reflecting pool.
I know, but why were you yelling? Because they're here. But Oklahoma State troopers. I know, but why would you be yelling at them? Just because they're here. I'm just trying to have a better understanding.
Then who would think that somebody would go into a pool and take a knife and start cutting it? Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. When you have a 350, I think it's 350, not 350, a 350-foot slit from one end to the other, you think that's proof? You think that's proof?
Why is it down there today looking for that slit that you mentioned?
Well, what you have to do is see the parks department. They'll show it to you. See the secretary. But I saw it. They cut it very violently. The same thing with the floor. They cut it, and then they lifted it. They pulled it, and that's what it is.
Okay, the biggest story in the mainstream of the media that they've been talking about, because again they want to use it to smear the president, is the fact that there's an algae bloom in the reflecting pool. Okay, which some of it is just the natural process of the fact that you have a large body of water in the middle of a swamp in the middle of the summer, right? Get a lot of sunlight. Yeah, you're gonna have some of that happen. Okay, but clearly there's sabotage going on. Clearly, liberals are trying to vandalize the reflecting pool project because again they want to make Trump look bad, and the media has been cheering this on. Right? They've been rooting for the reflecting pool to end up a disaster for President Trump. That is what they've been cheering for, and now they're upset because liberals are being arrested en masse for vandalizing the reflecting pool, which goes directly against that narrative that what is happening to the reflecting pool is because of Trump incompetence or, you know, whatever they're putting out there, right? So I don't know because again, the fact is that liberals are arrested because Trump is a confident which is that they want to push.
Bills are reflecting polls in Washington and peeling paint are leading to vandalism claims from the president and criticism from Democrats. Trump is now threatening vandals with a 10-year prison sentence for defacing the newly renovated landmark. Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley took his critique to social media, saying, quote, after railing about waste, fraud, and abuse, the Trump administration spent $14 million on a reflecting pool reno that's now peeling and chock full of algae. I'm pressing to get answers for this embarrassing waste of resources.
No chance, mate.
Right, again, a lot of this is natural. It's a natural process. The Obama administration spent tens of millions of dollars on the same thing and got the same result, but yet back then, apparently liberals didn't care, right? They didn't want to investigate that, right? But now, when it happens under Trump, now they got to investigate it, right? Now this is a big deal. It's the #1 news story in the country. It's just funny how this works.
Being just cleaned and opened up a month ago, looks like nothing was done. It's real nasty.
The pool was closed for almost 2 years and underwent a $34 million renovation project.
It'd be nice if it was clearer water, so that one could reflect without seeing algae.
The first thought was, oh, that's kind of nasty.
Yeah. So again, who would have thought a large body of water in the middle of a swamp? It requires a lot of money to maintain the beauty, okay, especially during the summer, right? That's just kind of the cost of maintenance if you want to have beautiful stuff in the middle of a swamp, right? Common sense. Again, it happened under Obama, and Democrats at the time saw no issues with it, right? Everybody's just talking up, well, see, hey, you know, it's just a natural process. Happens under Trump, oh, this is a disaster, right? A huge scandal. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Again, right? This is more than just a natural occurrence. There's sabotage here, which is why you have all these liberals being arrested. And the media can't handle the truth. Democrats can't handle the truth.
President Trump says the reflecting pool will probably need to be drained again and work will begin immediately. This to fix what some consider just to be a really bad repair job. He says it is vandalism. Several people were arrested over the weekend for allegedly vandalizing the pool, including a 3-time U.S. Olympian. The president claimed that some of them were pouring toxic.
Oh boy. Okay, let's talk about what's going on with Halo Campaign Evolved. A game that generally had pretty positive reception with all the trailers up until recently when the official Halo social media page posted the following Q&A article and blog post that shared information that people were not at all happy with. And given the mishandling of Halo, a lot of people are hoping that Campaign Evolved will prove that ultimately Xbox is starting to get a handle on things when it comes to what is basically the most iconic series for Xbox, their flagship series, almost like their mascot. But what goodwill Campaign Evolved had, a lot of that has been tarnished by some of the information shared in this Q&A. In fact, scrolling down through the comment section of this post, you can see posts like our expectations for you were low, but holy F, so on and so forth. A lot of people are disappointed by certain aspects of things. And so let's talk about what exactly is causing such a ruckus surrounding this game. So here is the blog post in question, the Q&A that answers people's questions about this particular entry. And one of the first things that they talk about is the collector's edition, which sold out real quick. And they confirm that there are no plans for a restock. And when it comes to reports of reselling, scalpers, and the like, they say that our retail partners have audited orders and found no evidence of widespread scalping. Only a tiny percentage of purchases those orders were refunded and back up for sale. Except it was clear from the outset that a significant number of scalpers did manage to get their hands on this collector's edition, as reported by Windows Central right here, that scalpers list collector's edition for hundreds on eBay. And yeah, there were screenshots taken. I think a lot of these listings were taken down because they violated certain terms of service, but they will come back up eventually once these collector's editions start to go out. It's just a shame to see that they're not willing to meet the demand somewhere in the middle, and that they're willing to make these collector's editions so limited, given that, people really love Halo and would love to have the elements that the collector's edition offers as collectibles, and just like how stingy they are on that front is just something that has always baffled me. But the real kicker is this segment right here. The question is, are there any Xbox account requirements to play the game solo or co-op? To which the answer is yes. And that's all well and good for online multiplayer, but one of the iconic features of Halo is split-screen local co-op, which is you sit down and you play on the couch together, and it's just like drop in, drop out. It should be that simple. That's the whole appeal of local split-screen co-op, is the ease with which players can just get together and play on the same screen. But that process has regressed so much, and it's become so much more complicated. So here is what the answer to that question was for the different platforms. Xbox Series X and X. If you're playing split-screen local co-op on an Xbox console, both players will need a unique Microsoft account. Then Steam, you'll need to link a Microsoft account to play co-op. And then the details surrounding the PlayStation 5 version was especially controversial. It reads right here, if you're playing split-screen local co-op on PlayStation 5, both players will need to be signed into PlayStation accounts and be linked to Microsoft accounts. Now, it says right here, they had to emphasize that a PlayStation Plus account is not required for local split-screen co-op. But the reason I highlight the PlayStation 5 version in particular was because of this woeful miscommunication that led to a ton of backlash and disillusionment before that information was corrected. Prior to the update to this blog post, here's what this originally said. If you're playing split screen on PlayStation 5, both accounts will need to have PlayStation Plus and be linked to a Microsoft account. PlayStation Plus being a paid subscription. The notion of requiring that each individual engaging in co-op has a paid subscription to engage in a cooperative local split-screen experience was just utterly ridiculous. The backlash surrounding that was immense before clarification was made that actually PlayStation Plus accounts are not required for local split-screen co-op. Which is why for some hours this topic right here was blowing up on social media. Halo campaign evolved, PS5 split screen needs 2 PS Plus subscriptions, to which people had plenty of harsh responses to give. And underneath the topic here, you can see the utter and complete outrage on the part of the gaming community, with posts surrounding this that are criticizing this, garnering, you know, hundreds of thousands of likes, millions of views, and tens of thousands of likes per post. And yeah, of course, it is a notion that is utterly ridiculous had this been true. And I don't know how miscommunication like this happens, assuming that the original plan wasn't to make PlayStation Plus mandatory to play split-screen co-op on PlayStation 5 for that version of this game. For that, it took them like 6 hours to respond or something and to make that clarification. Yeah, the assumption was that Xbox was pulling the and, you know, originally there was debate as to whether it was Xbox or PlayStation, but a lot of people highlighted that there's plenty of co-op games on PlayStation that don't require PlayStation Plus subscriptions, and so the assumption generally was that it must be on Xbox's end that this is a requirement. And some people are even questioning whether this was truly just a miscommunication or whether the original intention was to decentivize people from playing Halo Campaign Evolved on PlayStation 5 and make it more appealing on Xbox by not requiring a subscription for local split-screen multiplayer and co-op. But because that backfired so hard, they had to take some hours to reevaluate and then be like, actually it was a miscommunication, because this feels like just such an obvious mishap, and it took him so long to change the post and to make this clarification. Like, that clarification should have been instant if it truly were just a matter of somebody wrote the wrong words on the blog post. But, you know, that's, I guess, a little conspiratorial. Ultimately, in the end result of the game, you will not be required to pay for a subscription on PlayStation 5 for each individual engaging in split-screen co-op. But this is still ultimately a regression from how split-screen co-op used to work, which was, again, it was very like drop in, drop out, no frills, no obstacles, no friction. But now you're required to make accounts for the specific platforms that you're engaging in to play local split-screen co-op. which means that there is an online requirement for which once upon a time wasn't the case. You have to log in, you have to be connected to the internet. There's still friction now with split screen co-op that never used to be the case back in the good old days. And so yeah, it is still a feature that ultimately has made steps backwards. It's a feature that people have just a little.
The Americans were what? I've been lying through my entire life.
What America is, their own news, politics, and so much more. But now that they're actually here, they're saying that they weren't told before true. There's so many foreigners here right now that are falling in love with what America is, from our huge ass grocery stores, Costco, Walmart, meeting friendly strangers, and being in the bar. They're experiencing so much, and we're seeing online how much they're falling in love with America. And that's exactly what this video will be about. We'll be getting into the perspective that these foreigners have on America, and then getting into the perspective of people who do live here, who are United States citizens, who now have more of appreciation for where they're at and the country they reside in. So that's kind of content, be sure to subscribe, and let's dive right into this video.
I feel like I've been lying through my entire life about America. You see it. People in America who travel to the World Cup are realising they've been lied to. Before travelling to America, knowing that America is this place that we hear about on the news all the time. It's a horrible place.
Just a bunch of fat people, shootings, crime, which that is the case. It's turning more from a melting pot into a mosaic, just a bunch of communities living next to each other, tolerating each other, and creating a shared American identity. And I want more of that. I'm not saying everybody has to be on the left or the right, but just saying we should be more prideful of what America is, and we should be more accepting of different ideas, of different cultures, to a certain extent, to make sure there's an identity of what America is.
Side of America, to see America through their own eyes, through their country's media eyes.
Yes.
This is incredible. Be happier for America. The world strip back the negativity. My favorite on planet Earth.
I've always said that. Every state is its own country. Like people are like, oh, you're not one traveler, you've never been to Europe. The United States big as hell. I've been to a lot of different cities, a lot of different states, and each one is very, very different with its own, like, there's an American sublayer, but then it's its own identity of the state or the city that you're in. I think it's really cool.
America, I cannot get my head around how big this country
Yes,
is.
it's
My
massive.
childhood friend, Dan, has moved to New York, Long Beach. We were chatting the other morning. I was like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. He was like, no, it's not. It's 9 o'clock. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, there's a 3-hour time difference from San Diego to New York.
Yeah.
How can a country, the same country, have time differences? It's that big. He was telling me that from San Diego to New York is a 7-hour flight. That's the same as going from New York back to London.
In some cases, in the right wind environment, it is faster for you to fly from New York to London than it is for you to fly from New York. York to LA. It takes you money. For example, if you fly this is the same in Texas, the one state. If you were to drive across that state, that's equivalent to driving across the state. Now, yes, that you go to all different countries and experiencing all the different things, you can do the same in the United States. And that's why, like, when people compare countries, like, oh, well, the United States does this and Sweden does this, that's never been fair to me to compare the two, because you're comparing Rhode Island to a Texas, you know, and as far as like the size compared to the states. It's like that mindset of like, oh, well, Switzerland does this, France does this. Okay, we can't compare oranges to apples. Yes, we're both a country, but damn it, a country with 300 million people is literally functionally going to have to operate different than a country of 10 million people, 5 million people. There's gonna be a difference. And that's no shade to anybody who likes to travel to Europe. Like, I haven't been yet, and I want to go, but it's just so much fun and easier to travel across the United States and experience the different cities and towns that we do have. And even then, thinking about how much easier it is to travel around the United States, I can only imagine some of the headache that it is being overseas and traveling to the different countries and different languages, and there's just a lot more going on. And I know for myself, for my travels to Canada, to Australia, to Honduras, staying connected can be kind of annoying, which is why I'm glad to be working with today's sponsor, Saily. Saily is an eSIM app that helps you stay connected over 200 destinations across the world, all without the annoying roaming fees or having to swap out physical SIM cards. And honestly, one of the things I like about it the most is how easy it is to use. You literally just open up the app, hit Explore Data Plans, and then you can go through and you can pick the country that you're going to be traveling to. You pick it, and then you pick the plan that you want, how many gigabytes, whatever you need. You go through, then you use the promo code, buy with Apple Pay, and then you're done. The whole setup process is so simple, only takes a few minutes, and then once you get to your destination, you're connected. At that, Saily also recently added phone numbers, which is awesome because it gives you a separate number to use while you're traveling abroad. So if you're ordering delivery food, or you get in a taxi, or you know you're happy to give out your phone number for some reason, it's not your actual phone number from the States, it's one that's and if y'all don't have access to Saily, do a security feature to help block malicious websites, trackers, and annoying ads while you're browsing online. So if you got any travel coming up this summer, you can get your exclusive 15% off the Saily data plan. You can use code Amir at checkout, you can download the app below, or visit saily.com/AmirHosting.
You see me? It's making me crack.
I love the pure joy and wholesomeness these people get to experience just from nice people. All someone said, a stranger just said good morning to him, and he made his whole day. First off, how traumatized are you from your home country? Do y'all not just say hi? Which even then, he's just I will be honest, he's probably just in a nice area. Because you do that in New York, people be mean mugging you all up and down the East Coast. Just mean, bitter attitudes, stank faces. It's like, what do you want? Like, people aren't used to someone just being nice. And that's probably like the Southern hospitality, but this part's over here in LA. You know, some very nice parts of LA, very friendly people around, but all in all, I'm glad these foreigners get to experience just like a good old American charm. Just a very nice suburban American. It is so wholesome to be here. Just finally in the
But people are just too nice. What is going on? Oh my God. I get so excited. You know, like a little kid in a playground when there's with their best friend, they're like, hey, and they're like, how did they get run away? And like, oh my God. Like, that's what I'm like. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. This place is so crazy.
It makes me so happy and so appreciative to be in the United States. You know, like I said, the East Coast, they be having little attitudes, but I can see how we take for granted how nice we are. Yes, we have like never like when the streets acting a fool. In our day,
You'll dance for me now or swing for me later.
And it's really nice.
You've no chance, mate.
I'm in America. Chick-fil-A.
Oh my God. Give me a spicy biscuit, and depending on the mood, a spicy biscuit with some honey packets on the side, or give me a spicy biscuit with strawberry jelly. Oh, so good.
Days. Oh my day.
Oh my day.
Oh my day.
Where's my one?
I'm in America, and I've been hearing about Waffle House.
See, I don't know about all that. I ain't never in my life got no lunch at Waffle House. You get a waffle, you get an all-star. With for me, I'll get a sausage, egg, and cheese grip bowl with a waffle, lightly done. I want them hard waffles. I want soft and chewy. I want like it to be soft in the butter and the syrup.
That nigga's so goofy, dude. I swear to God.
America, what have you guys done to me? I have become taco obsessed. Taco.
People are taco. You talking about taco this whole hold on. I was about to say hold on. I cannot get taco out of that accent. But something else that's crazy is people been stealing ranch. People have been taking their ranch, trying to take it back home to their home country, but the TSA has to put a statement out saying, y'all gotta quit it with this ranch. Y'all ain't got ranch at home? And it's crazy too because like, yeah, some people are taking ranch home, but it's apparent they haven't been here long enough to experience the different kinds of ranch. I wanted they just found a ranch and liked it instead of realizing ranch can get better. Because I will tell you right now, the best ranch on the planet.
More death will be as meaningless
I want
as
to hear it. Buffalo Wild Wings got the best ranch. Then Wingstop up there, but they're literally taking all the ranch and they're trying to take it home.
And I bought it a chicken muffin. I have never seen this before in my life. After I took it,
We're in the States for the World Cup, so we figure we might as well try some Raising Cane's, a couple Canadians.
And the Canadians got that honey dill sauce. I'll give them that. Canadians got this sauce called honey dill, and that may be a Winnipeg thing. I don't know, but oh, slap. It's like honey mustard and mayonnaise, I think, and honey.
She off them water too. We getting money. Can't cup them. She gon' go. If you got it, throw some more. Spend that money, you ain't broke. Shake that money, baby. Show me what your mama gave you. Got it out the mud. It ain't a guy out here said I made you. Just think they cute. Be chicken like the commentators.
I fucking love that so much. This is my goofy ass nigga, man. I swear, I just see. Oh.
Y'all gonna have to play it yourself to get the actual audio. Shit in my breath. To get the actual audio that was playing, because I can't play that music. And Jaquisha just came out. Jamal, Jameer. Somebody came out. Ain't nothing like some people in the hood, in the club, having a good time. You got people in a circle hyping you up. Ooh, the homegirl here, she is getting her life. I'm all here for it. I'm pretty sure she's in Germany. In Germany, they be getting down. I want to go to Berghain so bad. Berghain. I think the Berghain. A hard techno club. I want to go there. Whenever I go to Europe, I want to go to Berlin for sure and Amsterdam, and then I'll hit everything else too. And I'll be sure to have a meetup or something like that. But I feel like they really know how to party. Them Germans can get down.
Seeing British and European World Cup fans coming to America and just having a whale of a time experiencing some of the lesser known and lesser traveled parts of the US.
Yes, because if you didn't know, like I learned this, the World Cup, all these people coming in, they're not hitting, well, some of them are hitting the major cities, but a lot of them are scattered. We're talking Arkansas, Houston, Seattle, like we're talking about like just random offshoot cities. Like it's really close, not the major ones that people always go to. Orlando, LA, New York. No, they're actually hitting America. And they're getting to experience small town vibe, renting a car and getting like what most people experience and grow up with. It's really cool.
Whenever you've got major cities, they're always going to ultimately end up becoming more similar to one another wherever you are in the world. And that's because they ultimately get taken over by corporations. You know, every major city in the world has a Google office, Meta office, etc. They have McDonald's, they have Burger King, they have all of these chains and corporate brands, Starbucks, etc. And people aren't just Starbucks at that time. So really, is resist the temptation to flock to these major cities. You can still have a great time there. They're cool cities. There's no issue with them at all. But if you want to come to America for the first time, feel like you're really experiencing the US, go to Tennessee, go to Oklahoma, go to Arizona, plan a road trip.
I definitely plan a road trip. Like even for me, when I went to Sydney, Australia, I guess I went to Sydney, one of the most known cities, but I did rent a car and did go on little road trips and went to small little bakeries and local coffee shops and tried to experience as much as I could on the local front, water parks. Like I had fun, but I do know when I do travel out, I like to experience that. Like I want to be ingrained into the culture, into the city, and really experience what I'm there for. That's one of the reasons why London's never attracted me. I feel like London is just like an extension of New York. Y'all probably eating me up right now in the comments of this live chat. Maybe it's not. Maybe there's some obscure like suburbs, and obviously there's gonna be suburbs that are very different, but I feel like for the most part, for me to spend all that money getting over there, and it's like a New York 2.0, stick me in Poland. Stick me where I'm gonna be worried about being black. That's what I want. I don't want nothing to happen, but I want to go so far in the trenches and so like to remote lands where I want to be like, How are y'all living? That's the vibe that I want. I want to be scared and not feel scared and what's going to happen.
The Americans were right when they said they were going to have anything. I'm just glad Texas is World Cup. In America, that's what it is to England. Every time it's a heat wave in the UK, we post on Twitter to say how hot it is, and there's always an argument with Americans saying it's not that hot, and we always argue that it is hot, it's different heat, whatever. No, the heat here is different. The air is thick like soup, and even in the middle of the night, it's 29 degrees. Right now, it's 35, and you can barely breathe.
Yeah, well, granted, I was in Austin, Texas. I love Austin. But I would never move back to the college coast. Like, I would believe glad, somewhere out in Africa living in like, I would get chocolate. Never again will I move back to those hot. But even then, you'll get a different heat in Arizona, LA, Tennessee, New York. There's different kinds of heats, but for the most part, some of the Europeans can't handle it, which I guess they don't have like AC units, and y'all ain't got ceiling fans. It doesn't sound very attractive to go visit. I'm sorry. If you want me to come visit the UK, let me know in the comments below. Tell me, like, give me an Instagram handle, and like I would be fun to go to Europe and like plan out an itinerary of like going to different countries and seeing different followers. Like that would be sick. Actually sick. So let me know in the comments below. But if I need a ceiling fan and some AC, if y'all over here having heat and people at enough degrees, I'm gonna need something.
This is probably the best store I ever been to.
He should.
This is look at these. These are nice. Did I know?
And I will say, when we went to Australia, there's a Costco out there. We went to Costco in Australia, and I put up pictures. It was really cool. I love to see the different things that they had. And what I really love is that, at least in Australia and Sydney, they have those star ratings of how healthy the food that you were buying was. So like, little junk food had a 1 star. Those healthy had 5 stars. I like that. Let us know how healthy or bad something is.
They got most of breakfast ready.
How Europeans in the USA to the World Cup are reacting as they learn our yellow school buses are real. Y'all not have buses? How the hell do kids get to school?
Guys, the yellow school buses are really yeah, like I thought it was just cartoons or the telly that would show these yellow school buses, and I was like, it's not real, it's just for the telly.
I just looked this up. The UK does not have a centralized system of dedicated yellow school buses like it does in the United States. Instead, school transportation primarily relies on regular public transport, often subsidizing passengers in London's Zip Oyster car, private coaches, or local minibuses. Y'all just be getting... Maybe I'll do that. Y'all just be getting on the bus, like the kids. For real? You learn something from the end, don't you? I ain't never heard about that. That's a new one for me. I just assumed everybody had a bus. Everybody had a yellow school bus. Like, I assumed school was normal across the world, so I would assume transportation is too. You learn something every day.
Animal content is definitely America do better, be better. Liberal policies are breaking our country. But I was sick over the weekend. You can kind of still hear it. And I had a lot of time on my hands, and my algorithm was locked into international travelers who have come to the United States for the World Cup and are experiencing the U.S. for the first time. And it just brought such perspective and such gratitude and such a reminder that as much as I critique this country and the people of this country, because I love this country and I want us to be better and do better, that we live in the greatest country in the world. I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying that, but
Which is so stupid.
watching a team of Japanese people, like, have an out-of-body experience eating barbecue, watching people from Algeria get fully embraced by the people of Kansas, watching a British person not understand that a biscuit is Sicilian, but ordering an extra side of gravy at the Cracker Barrel, watching people just like pan out to the landscape and literally be in awe of, from the springs to the mountains to the valleys to the rivers to
Got
the
it all.
beaches, and like we forget that. We as Americans forget to look up and look around, and we always say, if you want to hate America, turn on the news, and if you want to love America, go to America, go walk through America, go experience the people of America.
That is so true. Because even here on this channel, we do critique and highlight the problems that we're facing in America, and we're sounding the alarm bell to lots of things that sadly have been growing and are causing constraints and are very frustrating about America. But even with all of that, I'm still loving the country. I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful to be here and that we have the food and the city, things we can just experience. And I do feel like as much as people appreciate America, as much as people try to migrate to America, hello, is another reminder of like, I should just really just calm down sometimes and be thankful to be here. As much as the YNs be annoying the hell out of me with the team takeovers, Karens, just crazy, ridiculous people, even with all of that, it's still a blessing to be here. Like even someone making minimum wage, their minimum salary puts them in like the 1% of the United States of the world. Let me fact check that. Minimum wage, United States, top 1% of the world. No, okay, the actual statement is to be the top 1% of income earners worldwide, you typically need an individual income of $34,000 to $60,000. Even then, like you have to be mindful that no matter what, no matter where you are at in your life, every day right now, there is someone fighting their entire life.
Just saying goodbye to dogs.
So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there right now where if you could look back 5 years, if you could holo COVID, and so that person where your life is now, there's a lot of people out there be like, damn, you know what, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Let me pause a bit and just take in the world around me and be grateful so I'm not jaded of the blessings that we have and the blessings that are in our life. And even to this point of people visiting here and loving here, it does remind me of the amount of people trying to illegally immigrate. Like we can't say America's shit, it's the worst country ever, but then fight to keep the people who want to come here to come here. Like it's kind of fake. Like you over here saying America is shitty and America sucks, and you're also fighting for the right for them to come here illegally. If anything, shouldn't you be telling them not to come here? If America's that bad, America's that shitty, why are you advising more people to come here? Shouldn't you be sounding the warning alarms to make sure that they leave? Just a thought. I think that's something we can all keep in mind, whether you're visiting here, you live here, whatever it may be, even outside this video, like just your life in general. Like you're looking around and where you're at today.
By the way, if you can't think where would it rank in the Fortune 500? They were a country. Where would it rank in Fortune 500? And can you tell me ever a time where a Fortune 500 company had 7 CEOs in a span of 10 years? Okay, UK would rank as the 6th largest company in Fortune 500. So in other words, it would be a Fortune 10 company. And if it were a Fortune 10 company, which was 7 prime ministers in the last 10 years, Cameron, May, Johnson, Truss, Sunak, Starmer, and assuming you'll have the next person that's coming up, you've got to be 7 and 10 years. In the history of business, the only other company that went through this before acquisition was Yahoo between 2007 and 17, and they had 7 CEOs during that 10-year period. Aside from that, no one's ever had 7 CEOs in 10 years. Hewlett-Packard had 5, GE had 3. You don't hear stories like this. How the hell does a country not be able to figure this out and realize the top 3 issues that the country has is what? Immigration, crime, economy. Figure that part out. People will be happy. little bit to know about Keir Starmer before Tom I come to you. Born in 62, he was part of the Fabian Democratic Socialist Party in the past. And the Fabian Party was George Bernard Shaw. These guys were openly socialist. They agreed with a lot of things that Karl Marx talked about. He joined the labor young socialists at school, left-wing activism from the late 70s, contributed to Socialist Lawyer and Socialist Alternative publications, wrote in a Marx influence register. He said Karl Marx was, of course, right on the limits of abstract rights. And then he continues, openly, this organization, the Fabian, openly embraced eugenics. They openly embraced eugenics. And when you go a little bit deeper into the story, do you know what his actual job was prior to becoming prime minister? You know what his job was? What is the job when you take care of kids to make sure kids are taken care of? CPS. What is CPS?
Child Protective Services on the legal side and the foster system on the care side.
So this guy ran Child Protective Services. And even though he ran Child Protective Services, he never prosecuted James Saville, despite multiple complaints. We all know who James Saville was.
The BBC guy?
The guy, Jimmy Savile. No, Jimmy Savile, who was the guy that was the UK's version of Jeffrey Epstein, who had done a lot of different things. If you want to pull him up on the screen so people know who Jimmy Savile is, the moment you see his face, you'll recognize him. Guys in the back, if you can pull up Jimmy Savile so the audience can see it. So he does the, Child Protection Services is a part of that. And while the 250,000 report that comes from Rupert Lowe never comments about it, but he comments on the Scottish guy that goes around and stabbed a couple guys, but never once about what happened with. So a lot of people in the UK are actually happy that this happened, but it's a travesty that still these issues in UK have not been addressed the last 10 years. If this were a corporation, the shareholders would lose their mind at the board. Tom, your thoughts on Keir Starmer resigning?
So I appreciate that you can stand at a podium as a man, as a father, as a husband, and get choked up. And I do respect the fact that he stood at that podium with some dignity talking about transition. So I give him credit for that. But his record, what you just covered as Child Protective Services, he failed and then got promoted eventually to prime minister. You were bringing out companies, Pat. In the last 10 years, there's been one company that has had 5. You look at the records. Like I lived through the Yahoo thing, 2007, 2017. Susan Decker and all these people that were there. My gosh, what a revolving door. But in the last 10 years, 5 belong to a company called Starbucks, and we've even covered them. It was Howard Schultz, then Johnson, then back to Schultz, and then Nara Simhan. Remember we covered him. Don't talk to me after 6
He was the consultant, yeah.
Right? And then Brian Nickel, and it finally comes around. And then Disney had the same problem. They went Iger, Chapek, Iger, where they selected a.
But 7 and 10 years for a Fortune 6 company.
It hasn't. I don't see it except it's pretty damn bad.
Yeah.
The board should be shot.
Yeah, Vinny.
Well, you need
He's
to.
joking. Tom is joking.
I don't mean violence. I don't mean violence.
They can't do it anyways because they don't have Second Amendment over there, so don't worry about it.
They'll whistle you to
Go
death
ahead,
for
Vinny.
Batania then. But Pat, besides the grooming gang scandal and the CPS failures, he represented a banned Islamic group in court, which is banned in Germany. It was a Hizb ut Tahrir, whatever, I don't know if people want to pronounce it. For the death penalty, he got rid of the death penalty for rapists and murderers.
You'll dance for me now or swing for me later.
Like you talked about Epstein, and stuff. And it's really sad, Pat. You mentioned that over the weekend, a 36-year-old Scottish man, which, by the way, this goes without saying, anything violent because of people's religious beliefs is absolutely wrong. But the double standard here, this happens. This 36-year-old Scottish man stabbed. He went on a rampage in Edinburgh. Immediately branded terrorist. This anti-Islamic person, Keir Starmer, was too sweet on it. What a couple months earlier, remember Mustafa Kone? He was stabbing people in the same city in Edinburgh. Guess what? Crickets. They said he was mentally ill and. By the way, anybody out stabbing people for any reason, you're mentally ill. So the double standard, Pat, it drives me crazy.
And they never used the terrorist label, what you're saying.
Yeah, and then Pat, you said he was crying right now, and I get it, but I guess the emotional part, crying about his kid. There's one tear shed for the 250,000 young girls raped, tortured, what'd you say last week? Tongue tongue drilled, hammered to a wall, getting sexually taken advantage of, and all the different things with objects. It's like, where's the tears? And I say he said King Charles called him. Has anybody heard anything about King Charles, Pat? Has he commented anything about any of the situations?
He supposedly is semi-public and dealing with cancer treatment.
Well, guess what?
Supposedly.
Yeah, but if you're the king of this great nation of yours,
The office of the king can put out a statement.
say something, condemn it, Pat. And just, do you mind if I just really quick, Pat, shift to Mehdi Hassan? Can you show Mehdi Hassan's tweet? That's his tweet. Look at Mehdi Hassan. The same week that Rupert Lowe put out this BS rape gang report, falsely claiming Muslims raped 250,000 white girls, the same week Elon Musk amplified it here, and this is what happens. Is anybody surprised? They're inciting violence against Muslims and emboldening extremists. And I don't even want to show up, Pat, with Mehdi Hassan and his past. He's saying all this stuff, and he said it's BS. It's not a mistake. It's not exaggeration. The words used to dismiss one of the biggest child abuse scandals in modern British history in the world. In one word, but calling it, they keep calling these girls, Pat, liars. He's dismissing the mothers who begged to be heard, and nothing came from people. Brushing it aside. By the way, this is Mehdi Hassan. I know we just recently had him here. He once referred to non-Muslims as cattle in sermons, compared homosexuality to pedophilia, and was eventually shown the door by multiple media outlets. Yet, he said he's sorry, Pat, but you don't forget about that, and that ideology doesn't go away. And here's my one thing, Pat, in regard to all this underage, grooming, Muslims, everybody stays quiet. To mainstream Muslims, Muhammad was divine and flawless. Am I correct? So Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6, and then he was 50. Then he had sex with her. Some would call that child rape when she was 9 and he was 53. So sleeping with children cannot be divine to Muhammad and evil to his followers. Does that make sense? That's why I think Muslims struggle with denouncing child rape, because that's your guy. You have to stick up for him. No matter how, you know how many arguments I get into on the net, people are like, that was the time. Anytime you think, I don't care if it was 1400 or 180, sleeping with a 9-year-old is wrong, period. And try to compare him to Jesus Christ. Go ahead, do me a favor. Name one thing that Jesus Christ did in his 33 years of living, where right now today, Pat, I had to stick up for him and go, well, that was the time. He slept with a 9-year-old because that was the time. And I think that's why they struggle with the Pat, and that's why I think that whole ideology is captured, because you have to stick up for him. You have to stick up for Muhammad.
He's going in. Respect to you, Vincent. Cool. I think it's just sad to see where the UK brand is. It's a revolving door of weak leaders. You know the whole story about strong men create good times and weak leaders will create hard times, and that's basically where UK is now. I would say like the poster child to basically show what's going on in the UK is not even the prime ministers. What happened with Harry and Meghan? You're a prince. And I'm saying when he's got his own money, he's got his own money. You're a prince. You're going to basically excommunicate yourself for some B-list American actress, move to America, make a mockery of basically the royal family. That to me signified these guys have no clue what they're doing over in the UK. And Keir Starmer's just the latest victim of just weak losers who are coming in and out the door. But, you know, PBD, you brought up one thing that I wanted to bring up. Follow the money. You said that UK is the 6th richest country in the world. Their GDP is just shy of $4 trillion, $3.8 trillion. Do you know London, the premier financial hub of the Western world for centuries, until the United States, basically took the throne. The UK, if they were part of the United States, do you know where they would be ranked in terms of what state they would be? 51st state in GDP per capita. Our poorest state, Mississippi, continuously the 50th, the lowest state, 50th GDP per capita for Mississippi is $55,000. GDP per capita in the UK, $54,000. There's so much to unpack here of what's going on here. But at the end of the day, they're taxing people, wealth is leaving, and we all know that anything woke basically will ruin your society and ruins everything.
Yeah.
And that's where the society...
Well, let's see what's going to happen. The good news is there's a couple conversations they're having about who could replace him. There's a name, I believe Andy Dunham, if I'm not mistaken, is one name. Andy Burnham that could be replacing him, which is going to be in the next couple weeks. There's another guy named Wes Streeting, who is slightly more conservative, but Wes Streeting just came out and said he's going to be supporting Andy Burnham. He just did that like a couple hours ago, recently. So this is probably the guy. Get used to seeing this face if you don't already know him. Can you pull him up to see who he is and what his background is? Can you pull up his what we know about him? Yeah, you can go right there. So he is a British politician. Has been a prime MP since 26, a Labour coach, another Labour guy, who is currently a candidate for 2020 Labour Party candidate election for Keir Starmer, Prime Minister. He previously served as a mayor of Greater Manchester. So it's another Keir Starmer that could be replacing him, is what it's looking like in UK. So UK, if I were you, I would be doing a lot of praying and hoping that these messages, a guy next to me, you know what he asked me? He says, Pat, what do I do? I'm a Christian man. I'm a Brit. I live in UK. What do you do in a situation like this when you're seeing these 250,000 kids, the rape gang, taking place by the Pakistanis, and you know that 87% of them, where they lie, if they're from, Pakistan Muslim, what do you do in a situation like this? Do you react? Do you not react? Do we take it up on our own hands? Do we do something about it? I said, that's a very difficult question you're asking. But I will tell you, this guy here, couldn't stand guys like Tommy Robinson. They hate guys like Tommy Robinson. And Rupert Lowe, who did the whole rape gang report that's coming out, that's circulating all over the place. By the way, what's the big YouTuber that does reactions? Asmon Gold, I want to say his name.
Asmon Gold, yeah.
Do you know what he did for 7.5 hours? He read the entire report for 7.5 hours.
Asmon Gold.
Which
Asmon
report?
Gold.
Asmon Gold read the entire Pakistani rape gang report for 7.5 continuous hours. He read the report. So people are seeing what's going on here. Yeah, that's good. That's good. He's doing a great job. Our guys here love him. We always hear good things about him. Let me get to the next story here. Next story here is TPUSA. About a week ago, we showed a video where video reacted to a video that was where Andrew Colvert and his partner said, we are trolling the trolls, and we thought it was a fake video. Folks from TPUSA, I won't give names, they reached out to me and they said, hey, that was a real video. That's actually what Charlie Kirk said, and I spoke to the gentleman who set up his estate planning, Doug, who I mentioned him before, and, he says, Pat, this is what he wanted. He wanted Erica to run the organization afterwards, and the controversy was over this video, and the video I'm going to come to because you guys had a 45-minute call. Go ahead, guys.
The most important relationship in your life is the one that you have with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens. Erica would do a great job.
Okay, Vinny, you had a call with Andrew.
So I talked to Andrew. Mind you, Pat, I think we met him in passing at one of the TPUSA events. Adam hooked it up I got back from, where were we? Washington. And I spoke with him for 45 minutes. You ever just see somebody on TV or on videos, and everybody has their assumptions in their head. But then you speak with them, you're like, oh, okay, now I know exactly who you are as a human being. Pat, 45 minutes. I mean, we could have gone for a 2-hour conversation. He explained that video that they put together, it wasn't AI. But on X, somebody put, people can community note if they're on a certain side. He had to go in and he had to get the community note lifted because it wasn't AI. So he explained the whole situation to me, and it was not what I thought it was. And I commented on it because that's what I thought was happening. But the 45-minute conversation, Pat, it's as if I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of the conversation, but if people out there, if you don't think that Andrew Colvert is genuinely concerned and worried, Pat, he has so many more questions about everything that happened with the shooter, with Tyler Robinson's his name. It was such a good conversation, and I never judged him or thought anything of him different. But having spoken with him and clarifying the situation, I was wrong because what I saw that Grok said, right, boom, AI. They can go on Grok, and people can keep community noting, Pat, even if it's not real. He had to go on and fix it. So I was in the wrong, and yeah, he's actually really, really a good dude.
Talking to Andrew.
Very, very good dude. That's a stand-up dude.
Yeah, so very happy with that video. It's interesting because when we were on a flight to UFC White House, We have one of our lawyer friends with us on the flight there, and he says one of the things people are doing now is at the top you can run audits to see what bots are attacking you from where, funded by whom. Imagine that research to have. So let me say it one more time. Imagine if you could run a research to know who is attacking you with fake bots and who is paying for it. How valuable would that be?
Big time.
You know who's the one guy that knows all of those because he owns the company? It's a guy named Elon Musk. So guess what person knows who's attacking who and destroying who? Elon Musk and his team. He can literally say, can you run a report why this guy's doing such and such? Oh, follow the money. That's what. So Elon knows everybody. That applies to Twitter. What is the easiest place to defame somebody? Out of all the platforms, what is the easiest place to defame somebody? X. So very easy to defame somebody at X. And what is the one platform that can confuse the most people and gaslight the most people? It's X. Yeah, X is the place because a lot of people are getting their news from X. So, anyways, it's interesting when that happens as you go through it. But I'm glad, Vinny, you had a call with them, and I'm glad you were manning up with it. Every once in a while, we're going to get things that are, wrong, and we're going to man up and talk about it and go from there. So, all right. So, next story I want to get into is the following: CNN Harry Enton. I think he needs to be, honestly, like Tylenol needs to reach out to him. Advil needs to reach out to him to do a sponsorship. To be like, this guy, how do you hold it together? To not lose your mind. So, the rise of the Democratic Socialists. I warned you the last couple of years when I said, I think we're getting ready for a socialist president in 2028. And if you go and think there's not a single chance that that could happen, you are naive. Watch what's happening right now to the Democratic Party. Go ahead, guys.
Democratic Socialists, how are they viewed inside the Democratic Party?
Yeah, you mentioned New York, you mentioned Vermont, obviously. There's the D.C. mayor. We've seen it in Pennsylvania as well. The Democratic Socialists seem to be doing considerably better than they used to be, and they have the chance to knock off, in fact, Democratic incumbents in Congress. And part of the reason for that, why we're seeing these Democratic Socialists having such good chances or outright winning nominations, is take a look here. Net favorability among Dems. Democratic Socialists of America, look at that. A plus 17-point net favorability rating among Democrats. And that's actually better. That is better than how congressional Democrats are viewed by Democrats at just plus 4 points. So no wonder that Democratic Socialists have such a good chance. Because simply put, they are a better brand at this point than Democrats in Congress.
Among Democrats, it's interesting to see who they like more.
Whoa.
Capitalism. How are they doing right now?
Yeah, how are they doing right now among Democrats? You see this Democratic Socialists of America more positive than congressional Democrats. And I'll tell you, take a look at the trend line, the favorable rating among Democrats on socialism. And look at this. In 2010, they were about equal. 50% had a favorable view of socialism. 51% said the same about capitalism. But capitalism has absolutely fallen through the floor. Look at this. It's now just 42% of Democrats who have a favorable view of capitalism. Socialism, on the other hand, up like a rocket. Look at this. 2 in 3 Democrats have a favorable view of socialism. So socialism is on the rise among Democrats. Capitalism is on the decline among Democrats. And again, this is part of the longer-term trend in which we are seeing Democratic Socialists doing considerably better among Democrats, electing a mayor right here in New York City, for example.
There you go. So, Tom, what does this mean to you?
So here's what's going on. Democratic Socialists right now, you need to think of them as MAGA of the Democrats. Not on the right, but they're this group that's out there. The core Republicans, remember, you go 2016. Remember how upset the core Republicans were? Benny, Adam, you remember this too, at MAGA. Oh, it's just a bunch of fringe guys, bunch of this. And guess what? Trump rode that wave, baby, to 2016. What you're having now is Bernie and AOC mostly